Hello everyone, this is chapter 16 for Charlotte's Web. I'm hoping you're enjoying our read alouds. Get your paper and pen ready so you can go ahead and jot down your vocabulary words as well as the either predictions or inferences we're going to do off this chapter, okay? Go ahead and pause the video if you need to, and I'll go ahead and share my screen when you guys come back. So in Charlotte's Web, this chapter 16, has some, not too many words, but I figured we showed you a couple of images to help you get your mind working and making sure you're making those visual images in your head as I'm reading the story to you, okay? So the first word that's gonna pop up when we're reading that you might be thinking, I wonder what that looks like or what that is. Then in the story, you'll hear someone's dreaming, and they're dreaming about a Navajo blanket. So Navajo blanket looks like this, okay? And it's the Navajos, if you remember, it's Native American tribe. So this is one of the nice, beautiful blankets that they can actually physically, instead of using needles to knit, right? They would use just their hands, bare hands, to put it together and make it look with these beautiful, beautiful designs. So this is a Navajo blanket here. The next one you'll hear is called the deep freeze unit. And I typed it in and this is what came up. So it's pretty much like a freezer. Some people might have this in their garage, or if they need to freeze food or big pieces of meat, typically you would use these big freezers to store frozen meats or foods. Buttermilk is, maybe you heard of buttermilk pancakes, right? So buttermilk is a specific, it's like a thick, milky liquid, okay? But it's a little thick, so they're gonna use buttermilk to do something to Wilbur, so listen up for that. Trotters and pacers. So trotters and pacers are these gentlemen that ride, or not really ride a horse, but they're being hauled, right? Pulled by this horse. So those are trotters and pacers. Lute, you'll hear the word lute. Lute, if maybe you heard it on, in cartoons, or if you watched any like pirate movies, they mention the word loot. Loot is like jewelry or money. Don't forget to grab the loot. Loot is like, like jewelry and money. Also, you'll hear the word nut hole. Nut hole, or knot hole, sorry, is a hole like in a piece of wood. So you'll hear talk about how Charlotte gets into a knot hole. So you'll see that, or just imagine that. Stowaway is to get on board a vehicle and secretly get in there with no one knowing, and going away with whoever is driving this vehicle. So it's like secretly hiding in a place where you'll be taken from one place to another, okay? Bewitched is to cast a spell, over something or someone, right? So bewitched. Brimming, I put this image of this girl here with like tears that are about to come out of her eyes. So brimming means like full and about to overflow. So her tears are like about to overflow. Okay, so that's what brimming means. All right, so I'll go ahead and continue with our read aloud. And of course, you can pause the video if you need to, okay? So here we go, chapter 16, guys. Think about the title of your chapter, okay? The night before the county fair, everybody went to bed early. Fern and Avery were in bed by 8. A very Avery lay dreaming that the Ferris wheel had stopped and that he was in the top cart. Fern lay dreaming that she was getting sick in the swings. Lurvy was in bed by 8:30. He lay dreaming that he was throwing baseballs at a cloth cat and winning a genuine Navajo blanket. Mr. and Miss Zuckerman were in bed by 9. Miss Zuckerman lay dreaming about a deep freeze unit. Mr. Zuckerman lay dreaming about Wilbur. He dreamt that Wilbur had grown until he was 116 feet long and 92 feet high, and that he had won all the prizes at the fair and was covered with blue ribbons and even had a blue ribbon tied to the end of his tail. I'll show you a picture. So look at how huge he looks. Right? That's what he was dreaming. Down in the barn cellar, the animals too went to sleep early, all except Charlotte. Tomorrow would be fair day. Every creature planned to get up early to see Wilbur off on his great adventure. When morning came, everybody got up at daylight. The day was hot. Up the road at the Arabelle's house, Fern lunged a pail of hot water to her room and took a sponge bath. Then she put on her prettiest dress because she knew she would see boys at the fair. Miss Arabelle scrubbed the back of Avery's neck and wet his hair and patted it down and brushed it down on hard till it stuck to the top of his head, all but about 6 hairs that stood straight up. Avery put on clean underwear, clean blue jeans, and a clean shirt. Mr. Abel dressed, ate breakfast, and then went out and polished his truck. He had offered to drive everybody to the fair, including Wilbur. Bright and early, Lurvy put clean straw in Wilbur's crate and lifted it into the pig pen. The crate was green. In gold letters, it said, Zuckerman's Famous Pig. Charlotte had her web looking fine for the occasion. Wilbur ate his breakfast slowly. He tried to look radiant without getting food in his ears. In the kitchen, Miss Zuckerman suddenly made an announcement. Homer, she said to her husband, I am going to give that pig a buttermilk bath. A what? Said Mr. Zuckerman. A buttermilk bath? My grandmother used to bathe her pig with buttermilk when it got dirty. I just remembered. Wilbur's not dirty, said Mr. Zuckerman proudly. He's filthy behind the ears, said Mrs. Zuckerman. Every time Lurvy slops him, the food runs down around the ears. Then it dries and forms a crust. He also has a smudge on one side where he lays in the manure. He lays in clean straw, corrected Mr. Zuckerman. Well, he's dirty and he's going to have a bath. Mr. Zuckerman sat down weakly and ate a donut. His wife went to the woodshed. When she returned, she wore rubber boots and an old raincoat, and she carried a bucket of buttermilk and a small wooden paddle. Edith, you're crazy, mumbled Zuckerman, but she paid no attention to him. Together, they walked to the pig pen. Miss Zuckerman wasted no time. She climbed in with Wilbur and went to work. Dipping her paddle in the buttermilk, she rubbed him all over. The geese gathered around to see the fun, and so did the sheep and lambs. Even Templeton poked his head out cautiously to watch Wilbur get a buttermilk bath. Charlotte got so interested, she lowered herself on a drag line so she could see better. Wilbur stood still and closed his eyes. I'll show you a picture. He could feel the buttermilk trickling down his sides. He opened his mouth and some buttermilk ran in. It was delicious. He felt radiant and happy. When Miss Zuckerman got through and rubbed him dry, he was the cleanest, prettiest pig you ever saw. He was pure white, pink around the ears and snout, and smooth as silk. The Zuckermans went up to change into their best clothes. Lurvy went to shave and put on his plaid shirt and his purple necktie. The animals were left to themselves in the barn. The 7 goslings paraded around and around their mother. Please, 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 please take us to the fair, begged the goslings. The goslings, sorry. Then all 7 began teasing to go. Please, 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 please. They made quite a racket. Children, snapped the goose, you're staying quietly at home. Only Wilbur is going to the fair. Just then Charlotte interrupted. I shall go too, she said softly. I have decided to go with Wilbur. He may need me. We can't tell what may happen at the fairgrounds. Somebody's got to go Somebody's got to go along who knows how to write. And I think Templeton better come too. I might need somebody to run errands and do general work. I'm staying right here, grumbled the rat. I haven't the slightest interest in fairs. That's because you've never been to one, remarked the old sheep. A fair is a rat's paradise. Everybody spills food at a fair. A rat can creep out late at night and have a feast. In the horse barn you will find oats that the trotters and pacers have spilled. In the trampled grass of the infield, you will find old discarded lunch boxes containing the foul remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, and particles of cheese. In the hard-packed dirt of the midway, after the glared lights are out and the people have gone home to bed, you will find a variety treasure of popcorn fragments, frozen custard, dribblings, candied apples abandoned by tired children, sugar fluff crystals, salted almonds, popsicles, partially gnawed ice cream cones, and the wooden sticks of lollipops. Everywhere is loot for a rat. In tents, in booths, in hay lofts. Why, a fair has enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats. Templeton's eyes were blazing. Is this true, he asked? Is this appetizing yarn of yours true? I like high living, and what you say tempts me. Is it true, said the old sheep. Go to the fair, Templeton. You will find that the conditions at a fair will surpass your wildest dreams. Buckets with sour mush sticking to them, tin cans containing particles of tuna, fish, grease, paper bags stuffed with rotten. That's enough, That's enough, cried Templeton. Don't tell me any more. I'm going. Good, said Charlotte, winking at the old sheep. Now then, there is no time to be lost. Wilbur will soon be put into the crate. Templeton and I must get into the crate right now and hide ourselves. The rat didn't waste a minute. He scampered over to the crate, crawled between the slats, and pulled straw up over him so he was hiding from sight. All right, said Charlotte, I'm next. She sailed into the air, let out a drag line, and dropped gently to the ground. Then she climbed the side of the crate and hid herself inside of a nut hole in the top board. The old sheep nodded. What a cargo, she said. That sign ought to say Zuckerman's famous pig and 2 stowaways. Look out, the people are coming, shouted the gander. Cheese it. The big truck with Mr. Arabelle at the wheel backed slowly down towards the barnyard. Lurvy and Mr. Zuckerman walked alongside. Fern and Avery were standing in the body of the truck, hanging onto the sideboards. Listen to me, whispered the old sheep to Wilbur. When they open the crate and try to put you in, struggle. Don't go without a tussle. Pigs always resist when they're being loaded. If I struggle, I'll get dirty, said Wilbur. Never mind that. Do as I say, struggle. If you were to walk into the crate without resisting, Suckerman might think you were bewitched. He'd be scared to go to the fair. Templeton poked his head up through the straw. Struggle if you must, said he, but kindly remember that I'm hiding down here in this crate and I don't want to be stepped on. Just watch that you're doing, Mr. Radiant, when they get shoving you in. Be quiet, Templeton, said the sheep, pulling your head. They're coming. Look radiant, Wilbur. Lay low, Charlotte. Talk it up, geese. The truck backed slowly to the pig pen and stopped. Mr. Arabelle cut the motor, got out, walked around the rear and lowered the tailgate. The geese cheered. Miss Arabelle got out of the truck. Fern and Avery jumped to the ground. Miss Zuckerman came walking down from the house. Everybody lined up at the fence and stood for a moment admiring Wilbur and the beautiful green crate. Nobody realized that the crate already contained a rat and a spider. That's some pig, said Miss Arabelle. He's terrific, said Lurvy. He's very radiant, said Fern, remembering the day he was born. Well, said Miss Zuckerman, he's clean anyway. The buttermilk certainly helped. Mr. Arabelle studied Wilbur carefully. Yes, he's a wonderful pig, he said. It's hard to believe that he was the runt of the litter. You'll get some extra good ham and bacon, Homer, when it comes time to kill that pig. Wilbur heard these words and his heart almost stopped. I think I'm going to faint, he whispered to the old sheep who was watching. Kneel down, whispered the old sheep. Let the blood rush to your head. Wilbur sank to his knees and all the radiance was gone. His eyes closed. Look, screamed Fern, he's fading away. Hey, watch me, yelled Avery, crawling onto the fours into the crate. I'm a pig. Avery's foot touched Templeton under the straw. What a mess, thought the rat. What a fantastic creature. What fantastic creatures boys are. Why did I let myself in for this? The geese saw Avery in the crate and cheered. Avery, you get out of their crate this instant, commanded his mother. What do you think you are? I'm a pig, cried Avery, tossing handfuls of straw into the air. Oink, oink, oink. The truck is rolling away, Papa, said Fern. The truck, with no one at the wheel, had started to roll downhill. Mr. Arabelle dashed to the driver's seat and pulled on the emergency brake. The truck stopped. The geese cheered. Charlotte crouched and made herself as small as possible in the knot hole so Avery wouldn't see her. Come out at once, cried Miss Arabelle. Avery crawled out of the crate on hands and knees, making faces at Wilbur. Wilbur fainted away. The pig has passed out, said Miss Zuckerman. Throw water at him. Throw buttermilk, suggested Avery. The geese cheered. Larry ran for a pail of water. Fern climbed into the pen and knelt by Wilbur's side. It's sunstroke, said Zuckerman. The heat is too much for him. Maybe he's dead, said Avery. Come out of that pig pen immediately, cried Miss Arabelle. Avery obeyed his mother and climbed into the back of the truck so he could see better. Larry returned with cold water and dashed it on Wilbur. Throw some on me, cried Avery. I'm hot too. Oh, keep quiet, hollered Fern. Keep quiet. Her eyes were brimming with tears. Wilbur, feeling the cold water, came to. He rose slowly to his feet while the geese cheered. Let's see the picture here. He's up, said Mr. Arabelle. I guess there's nothing wrong with him. I'm hungry, said Avery. I want a candy apple. Wilbur's all right now, said Fern. We can start. I want to take a ride in the Ferris wheel. Mr. Zuckerman and Miss Arabelle and Larry grabbed the pig and pushed him headfirst towards the crate. Wilbur began to struggle. The harder the men pushed, the harder he held back. Avery jumped down and joined the men. Wilbur kicked and thrashed and grunted. "Nothing wrong with this pig," said Mr. Zuckerman cheerfully, pressing his knees against Wilbur's behind. "All together now, boys. Shove!" With a final heave, they jammed him into the crate. The geese cheered. Lurvy nailed some board across the end so Wilbur wouldn't get back out. Then, using all their strength, the men picked up the crate and heaved it onto aboard the truck. They did not know that under the straw was a rat, and inside a nut hole was a big gray spider. They saw only a pig. "Everybody in?" called Mr. Arabelle. He started the motor. The ladies climbed in beside him. Mr. Zuckerman and Lurvy and Fern and Avery rode in the back, hanging onto the sideboards. The truck began to move ahead. The geese cheered. The children answered their cheer, and away went everybody to the fair. So that's the end of the chapter 16. So I'm going to go back to our slide and then we'll talk about what I have on here for you guys. So we normally make inferences for this next slide. Instead of an inference, I want you to make a prediction. What do you predict is going to happen? What prediction can you make? So go ahead and pause the video. Think of your prediction, write it down. Make sure that you think about textual evidence. Why do you think this is going to happen? And use a supporting detail from the chapter to support your prediction, okay? And this makes me think what? What does this make you think? So go ahead and pause, jot that down. I'm gonna make a prediction. We might not have the same prediction, but it's okay. I still want you to practice this, even if it doesn't, even if it's not the same prediction that I have, right? Because we can predict plenty of things. We don't have to have the same prediction. So go ahead and pause if you need to, or not if you need to. Please pause, go ahead and write that down, and then join me back to see what I wrote down for my prediction. Okay, so I predict Wilbur might still be in danger and Mr. Zuckerman will kill him. So my textual evidence, why do I predict this? I predict this because in page 126, it says here, or at least Mr. Arabelle is making that comment about Mr. Zuckerman will have awesome bacon and awesome ham, right? After he kills Wilbur. So I don't know, that's what I'm gonna put. So on page 126, Mr. Arabelle mentions how delicious the ham and bacon would be after Wilbur gets killed. Okay. So what does this make you think? So what does it make you think? It makes me think that Mr. Arabelle doesn't, or hasn't made a connection to Wilbur like Mr. Zuckerman and Fern has. Yeah. So he feels like they still are most likely going to kill this pig, right? That's what he feels. He feels that they should, or that's what they're thinking of doing. But Mr. Zuckerman has made this connection, or thinks that Wilbur is amazing. And Fern obviously has thought that since the very beginning. So let's see what happens in the upcoming chapters. Let me then now I want you to think about, what will you title this chapter? What will be the perfect title? Think about it. Since you listened to it and we just discussed the prediction, maybe you had another prediction. Okay, what do you think this chapter would be titled? Okay, take a minute to do that. Pause it if you need to. And I'm going to move on to showing you my summary. Okay, and I have it in my notebook, so I'll read it from my notebook here. Okay, so chapter 16, this is a summary that I wrote. The day to take Wilbur to the county fair arrived. Everyone was excited that the big day had arrived. The night before, everyone went to bed early, and through the night, they all dreamed about the fair and about other things that made them happy. Ms. Zuckerman cleans Wilbur up with buttermilk and leaves him nice and clean. Charlotte has decided to accompany Wilbur for support and just in case he needs help with anything. They also convince Templeton to go and help as well. Wilbur almost passes out when he hears Mr. Arabelle and tell Mr. Zuckerman that he will get a large amount of ham and bacon when the time comes to kill him. Everyone helps to shove Wilbur into the crate and onto the truck as he struggles and thrashes. Everyone gets in the truck and drives away, and they drive away to the fair. That was my summary. Go ahead and write down your summary and get ready for chapter 17, my friends. Okay? Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, guys.